All right, live. Let's set things up while we wait for you guys to show up, because again, I have like 40 minutes free. So let me get my tablet. So I can monitor this from here. Did you see the little snip that I posted on Instagram about with my new hardware meter? It's really cool. I'm gonna do a video on it. Let's go here and see where's the live. Where's the live? Trying to figure this out. Are we even live? Let me see there. On the channel page. Live. There we go. All right. Live. Again, I have kind of a 40 minutes free available. So I thought pop up live, take some questions if you guys have any. Have you seen my snip that I posted on Instagram about my new hardware at this point? No volume. Hardware metering system, which is pretty cool. All right. Let's wait for you guys to show up. Again, not planned. Just about to edit some vocals right now. And I thought, we'll pop up here and take some questions. But anyway, I'm gonna do a video on the new metering system that I have with my tablet, which is here, and it's really cool. Why I don't see the questions though? I can see them there. I don't see them here. I'm a fan of the tablet so far, but shit doesn't show up sometimes for some reason. All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Carmen, Warsmith, David, I started mixing 3 years ago. Your channel is the only source that actually helped me to improve. Thank you from Argentina. You're welcome. Very happy to hear that. Yeah, and again, before like the chat, a lot of people is coming right now. If you want your question answered first, use the super chat. Your question will pop up first, and you also support the channel, which is much appreciated. But let's see why it doesn't show up on my tablet. That's shitty. I can't see the chat on the tablet. It's so bad. Why? This is YouTube. This is why we all hate it. How would you handle producing, beat making, and then mixing? Would you separate the two, or would you mix along the way? If you are the one making the beats and then mixing them, it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. But there's not much difference. I would just simply mix them after you made them, so you can kind of concentrate on, on the making part first. Kind of a little bit emulating what will happen in a professional environment when you make the beat and someone else, mix it. And even for session management, it's better, it's better to have a separate session. All right. Again, first questions. If you want your questions to come first, use the super chat. When editing vocals, what are your thoughts on auto align plugins and software? I don't use them. I align everything by hand because I don't trust them, and also because perfect alignment is not always the best sound. Sometimes, depending on what kind of doubles you have, you want them a little loose, and sometimes you want them like really tight, and that's something that only a mix engineer taste and experience can decide based on the song. So I don't use them. Speaking of editing vocals, use like Elastic Audio or Melodyne. I tune with Melodyne, and if it's a bad recording, the S's function on Melodyne is really a time saver because you just lower all the S's at once. As for aligning Elastic Audio, I do use Elastic Audio, but you need to be very careful because it can randomly bring some really nasty artifacts. And in years ago in past, I've made a mistake of blindly using it, and then I went to mix a song, and I could hear like this really horrible artifacts that sometimes happen, sometimes don't. So you really need to double check every single step you do. It's a little time consuming, but it's worth it. Do you buy into the whole dynamic EQ philosophy on vocals? Yeah, absolutely. Dynamic EQs are a godsend for vocals, especially. There's no reason why not to use the dynamic EQ doesn't really have drawbacks like multiband compression can have, for example. Peacock, what up, man? Hey, David, what's good? What do you know about the hidden feature on the console one, pushing the shift button and turning the input gain, which does some type of stereo widening? Yes, it does. There's no more than what you just said. You press the shift button and the input becomes a width control. It simply turns up the level of the sides, which it's super useful to have it there. You don't need another plugin to do that. Or you can also do the opposite. Let's not forget you can turn down a little bit the sides of a track, which sometimes it's useful. Everybody like always wide and wide and wide, and sometimes you have to narrow things. So it's extremely useful to have it there. Any tips for recording vocals when the singer is not really a vocalist? Yeah, don't record it. I mean, it's sorry. I don't want to sound like rude or anything, but if the singer is not really a vocalist, why is he singing or is she singing? We're kind of in an era where everything can be fixed, but at the end of the day, it's still fixed. It's not really, I mean, get someone that can actually sing. It's my answer. No, seriously, because you simply one of the producer one job that is pretend to a producer is, for example, you have a singer, right? And you decide as a producer when the part is okay, right? Otherwise, we redo it. And of course, the singer will also have a say in it. But one of my jobs is to say, look, this is not okay, and we need to do better, or this is fine. It's also your job to understand the limit of your vocalist, because it's completely useless if you understand that the singer cannot do better than that. You don't waste 3 hours or 4 hours trying to record it, because you need, otherwise you're not a producer. You need to understand what are the limitations, what are the limits of your artist, no matter who, singer, drummer, whatever, right? So you are the guy that says, all right, it doesn't get any better than this. So let's move on, and we'll deal with that later, and we'll have to either tune it, fix it, whatever, change syncer. If it sounds good with minimal processing, do you trust your ears and leave it? Absolutely yes. Pakistan, hello. Hi David, do you use clip gain to level out vocals before compression, or you just use compression? I very, very rarely use clip gain to level vocals. It's not something that I do just by default. I don't like to use clip gain. It's clunky to me, and it just, the problem with clip gain, that every time you adjust piece by piece of vocal take, you will have differences in how much ambient there is and how much noise there is, even if it's very little. You will hear it. You will hear those changes because the vocal performance wasn't sang that way once you like move all the clips and stuff. So it always ends up being a little disconnected. I do if there's like a couple of spots in which either is very, very low or very, very high, but that's it. You know, I don't, it's not my default go-to. Let's use clip gain. Not for that. How are the new focals? I just spent a couple of days with them, not yet, you know, enough time to say how they are. First impression is I like them. They kind of surprised me for their, without a sub, for their very, very solid and tight low end. They definitely need a sub for sure. But the good thing about this system is the price point. But you will see everything in the video. What's your take on expanding the low end, top end when mastering and compressing the mids? I don't know. If the tracks needs it, but it's not something, again, it's not a technique that you say, oh, I'm gonna do this every master. If the track needs the top boost and the bottom boost and compress in the mid range, yeah, sure, but anybody who throw that as a default, you see what it is. It's a smiley curve, and everything sounds better the first 5 seconds, and then tomorrow sounds like shit. I see some people at Ozone E major on 808s. Should the 808 be always mono? Yes and no. Meaning, you have to have a strong and solid mono on the 808. Some 808, the ones that have a higher range, they have information on a higher range, let's say mid-range or even top end, you can have it stereo. I don't know if I would widen it, because that's not one element that you want super wide. If you widen super wide an 808, which has very little information anyway in the mid and the highs, assuming it has any, what are you gonna do with the things that they're supposed to be really wide, like vocals or, you know, a synth or something? So you can have it stereo. I don't see really the point in widening them. Sometimes with synth bass it's different. I do widen synth bass, but there is a way to widen synth bass. It's not easy, and it's not just slapping a widener on the track, because that's gonna fuck up everything. Question: what was the one thing or things that made vocals sitting with the instrumental or instrumental click for you? For me, I get them 90% there, but I always feel like it's missing something. Well, if you mix vocals on an already mixed instrumental, that's what you're missing. You know, that's what you're missing. There's not one thing or thing. I mean, there's not one thing. There are a million things that can help you blend a vocal or vocals onto a 2-track that is already mastered. But I've made several videos. This a shit practice to mix vocals on a already mixed beat, because you can't mix a beat. If the beat is supposed to have vocals in it, what the you mix? You wait for the vocals to be in it and then you mix it. But that's what you're missing, because it's like I said it many times. I gave this example. It's like, you know, putting a sticker on your car. It's, you know, when you mix a vocal on a 2-track, you don't do it. And as to what to do to make it better is everything, everything that concerns mixing. So it's a little bit of EQs, a little bit of ambience, a little bit of removing some things on the beat. It's a lot of like dynamic compression, is a lot of, you know, sometimes saturation, sometimes a lot of things, but it changes every time. All right. Ooh, wow. We are way back. Again, there's a lot of people. I'm already behind. So if you want your answer, your question to pop up first and get a reply, just use a super chat, guys. Which interface are you using, and how is your analog gear routed to your interface? Are you using external preamps? Well, I have several videos on my system. I don't use an interface with all this stuff. Mine is an extended AVB system comprised of 3 units of 16 channels each, input analog for a total of 42 channels. Plus I have my mastering converters, D, AD, and DA too, so 4 more. And everything is connected through the Flock patch bay, digital patch bay. Mine is a very complicated system. It has switchers, routers, and all that. I have videos on my setup. All right. Do you use any room correction software, hardware? No, I don't. My room is tuned. My room was made with the help of David Bass, which is one of the biggest studio guy here in LA, and I don't need it. How much time did it take for you to organize your workflow on a DAW? I'm not sure I understand the question. You mean when I start a new mix? If that's the question, probably 10 minutes to set up like my channels and my routing and do like a rough mix and gain staging. In country music, I hear the guitars panned 50% left or right. So would you pan the reverb the opposite side? Yes. Yes, I said this before. Now 50%, it's not really a hard pan, but still. Granted that I mix LCR, I said it in the past. I'm a Virgo, so I have to have things symmetrical, like in everything, not just a mix. Like in my room, if you look at my room, it's just symmetrical. If you come, my tattoos are symmetrical, like everything. We are like this. So for me to have one element on one side and nothing to counterbalance on the other side, it doesn't go well with me. Sometimes I do it, and I learn how to let those things leave in one side without having everything to counterbalance on the other side. But I have to force myself, and if I do it, it must be like a quick thing. It can't be like an element, like an acoustic guitar, like all the time. But if that's the case, yes, I use usually a short ambience or something like that to counterbalance on the other side. What is the best VST for 1176 style compression? Well, I gotta be honest, I like the Wave CLA. You know, I don't use 1176 plugins a lot just because I have 2 real 1176s. But if I do, it's usually the CLA 76. I really like it. How much do you exercise per day? I work out 6 times a week, 6 days a week for about 2 hours. I want to say 1 hour and a half if I'm in a rush. Reverb and delay on separate bus, or delay and then reverb on the same bus. I always separate because I usually send one into another, and obviously in a mix I can have probably about 10 reverbs and 10 delays, so the matrix, it gets complicated. That's why my effects sound the way they sound. Excuse me. David, would you use the Waves NLS plugin as your first plugin in order to gain stage and add color to sound assuming that you don't have any analog equipment. Okay, so, well, I like the Waves NLS. I'm not sure I would use it on every channel. I do have the Waves NLS and I use it, but I use it as a saturation plugin. I don't use it on every channel because simply, I don't know, I have a problem with digital saturation still, and I feel we are not there, to be honest. And I feel putting that by default on every track, especially if you have like I always happen to have like a 80, 100, 120 tracks mix, it's a mess. The only plugin that I do use that way is the console one, because simply if I don't want it, if I don't want the drive, I can turn it all the way down and it doesn't do anything. And I have several types of saturation on the channel strip, and I can decide, and I always usually switch between the API, SSL, and Neve, although I usually use either SSL like 70% and Neve for some other tracks, like few tracks. But other than that, I wouldn't. I like the NLS, but I would use it sporadically on certain tracks that you want like a little more saturation and color for them. Hi David, is the Heritage Successor a good bus compressor for trap and pop music? If not, what's your preference for that genre? The Successor is a great compressor. Is a great bus compressor? Yes, in some cases, because being a diode bridge is extremely colored, and his action is also extremely peculiar. So it's definitely not a compressor that you use all the time. Doesn't matter the genre. And especially for pop music, it can be a little too dark, especially on the 2-bus. Not that I wouldn't use it on a pop mix, but not on the 2-bus. I would use it maybe on, something else, which is what usually happens. I usually have the Successor either on... It can be a great vocal compressor, actually. It's a great compressor for guitars. It's a great compressor for a lot of things. 2-bus, to me it works one every 20 mixes, and it's also great for mastering just because of its color. But it's one every 30 mastering at that point. So it's a very thick and obvious color, which you can throw it on everything. My choice for 2-bus, you guys know what it is. It's 90% of the time is the Wes Audio NG, which not only is the SSL classic style compressor, which I've always used on the 2-bus, but is also an amazing mastering. It is basically a mastering compressor that you happen to have so many options. But you got the transformers you can take out, you got the THD, you have so many options for color. But if you don't want color and you want to use it as is, just the classical SSL style, you can use it. It has more options than any other SSL on the market, let alone the digital recall. So yeah, definitely this one. And if you can't afford this one, I still have the Dion right here. And also the Varimu Wes Audio, the RIA, like 10% of the times, that's an amazing my choice for 2-bus when I have like a softer, more mellow track, or even in mastering. It's actually a great mu for mastering. All right. What is it? 24 minutes. Okay, I can stay another 25 minutes. If you want your question to pop up, use the super chat. Pantera or Metallica? Pantera. It's funny. I was still with the band one time. I was playing the Trash Fest in Helsinki in Finland, and it was a festival, so we were a bunch of bands, and at the end of the day, we decided, the promoter decided, like, let's do like 4 or 5 songs at the end with an all-star band. and we were a bunch of bands. I don't remember who. I was playing guitar in that all-star band that day, and we didn't rehearse with anything, so it was kind of a mess. But was a gigantic festival, and everybody picked a song, and like some other guys in the band, they played like, I don't remember what, like some kind of southern rock, whatever glam rock song, and I was the only one who picked Walk, Pantera Walk, just because I wanted to play the riff on stage. So compression on drums, overhead. Do you like the punchy with a slow attack, or do the opposite and smooth the transit with a fast attack to get the punch from the close mic? 50-50. 50-50. It's not uncommon that I can have two channels, one with the slow attack and one with a fast attack, and then I move these two in the mix, and I get like one on the verses and one on the choruses. And usually the slow attack is not really the compression that shapes the transit, it's more the saturation that I put there. Seth Moreau, thank you so much for the donation. Much appreciated. All right. Wow, I'm behind. Again, guys, super chat for question first. I'm gonna get the members' questions first now because we're behind. All right. I saw a couple. Any views on Kali in a? I don't know that bring me sunshine. I don't know the difference between there's a second wave. I don't know the difference. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, the in 8 are really good monitors from Kali. I get probably they fixed some noise issue or something, so I don't know what changes in the new ones. Arbad Hamed, greeting from Canada. David, what is generally lost by going with a 500 series rack versus full-size version? Usually, it's not always the case, but usually you lose a little bit of headroom, which might be a problem, might not. For example, Mag EQ. The Mag, this one is the EQF. It is the EQ4M. M stays for mastering. And it has, I think, 4 more dB of headroom compared to the 500 series, which for some people might not be worth the difference in price. For me it is, because I master for a living and I need all the headroom, especially when all my chain is high headroom, the SPL 120 volts and all that. Davide Del Co, thank you so much for the donation. Again, guys, much appreciated. It allows me to, do this live stream more often every time you guys, chime in. Jorge de Jesus, I hope I'm not butchering your name. Thank you again for the donation. And your question is why you didn't review Acoustica audio plugins. Okay, I don't have absolutely anything about, Acoustica audio plugins. They wrote me, like, some months ago, and we were supposed to do things together. I didn't hear from them anymore, and I'm not gonna chase companies because I have way more work than I can handle. So I'm if they contact me, I'm always open to new collaboration. So I don't absolutely have anything against Acoustica audio plugins. The only problem and the thing that kind of made me walk away from them is that I tried to use them twice, and the first time was years ago when they first came out, and their registration software, the manager of all plugins, it kept crashing, and it made my Pro Tools crashing, my entire system crashing. And I tried for a couple of days, and then I said fuck it, and a year passed or something, and after that someone gifted me the one license for one of the most popular EQs that they have, the one that then they did a Pensado version. And again, I I reinstalled everything, and we were not able to register that license on it, and just kind of pissed me off, other than that, I have no issues. Like, I have no experience with their plugins because of that. That's why I don't review them. And if I don't use them in my everyday use, or I don't have a relationship with the company, I don't have time to just, go around and try plugins, for example, like we just started working with Output, and we're gonna do a lot of cool things with METH DSP, which are both new companies that I work with. So acoustic audio is welcome to, like, catch up and get the conversation going, because they already wrote me like time ago. EMA Flip, thank you so much for the donation, much appreciated. And here's your question: dual mono versus stereo link comp, when to use which? Okay, so I answered this some time ago, and I said I'm a big fan of dual mono in general. It happens probably 50% of the time that I use actually my compressor in dual mono on the two-bus. But as a general rule, I prefer, and I use dual mono a lot on things that I want to preserve either the original stereo image, or I want to increase it. Because many times it can happen, it's very common, that a stereo compressor on a real stereo source, for example, overheads on drums, or a real stereo synth, or a return of delays and reverbs, right? Or background vocals, or electric guitars, anything that is real stereo, and don't necessarily need to keep this very tight stereo image, but they can be a little bit swinging left and right. That's when I use dual mono compressor, with all the examples that I gave you right now. Where I would not use it would be on a stereo bass, like a synth bass. I like stereo synth bass. I don't, because I need that to be like pretty solid, right? And the swing there, even if I don't have it stereo from 50 and below, I don't want to run the risk even in the higher ranges, all right? So the elements that they have to have a solid mono, even if they are stereo, that's where I keep the compression stereo. And everything that can be, a little more free in that sense, that's where you use dual mono. So definitely, returns of effects, background vocals, stereo guitars, overheads, all things like that. Stereo synths. Harbab Hamed, again, thank you so much for the donation. Much appreciated. Okay. Questions, guys. If you want your question to pop up first, use the super chat. I'm trying to go back and see what we have. Peacock, one of our members. Now that your 1974 is no longer in your two-bus chain, what's your favorite use for it? And for the 1978, what do you feel it worked best on? So the 1974, being it free, basically, from my two-bus chain, it can end up on anything. It can end up on vocals, it can end up on guitars, synths. I love for bass, because it has like a really tweakable low end. You have like 3 different slopes, and you have the filters, and you can do really cool things. And I really love how the low end sounds on that. So it can really be anywhere. The 78, I don't have it in my racks because I don't have space anymore. So it's momentarily on the side. I really like the saturation of it for electric guitars, but I liked it for like vintagey style drums, or even vintage style drums for hip hop, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a fairly colored FET, and it's very, very versatile. All right, we have more donations. Thank you, Seth Monroe. Thank you so much. Any new interface recommendation? I am full-time mix engineer, 100% in the box, looking to get into analog gear soon. Love your channel. Well, my first advice is Motu, because again, they have, aside from the quality, which is amazing, and they don't waste money that much in promotion. That's why their product are top notch, and they are the price that they are. They're not overpriced. What you pay is 100% quality. They are easy to expand, and if you want to go my route with AVB system, you get rid of fucking cables and you just connect multiple interfaces. If you're looking into going with analog gear, you will eventually need a lot of channels. You need to be able to expand, and the AVB is the absolute best system. The quality of the converters are amazing, so are the pre's, and that will be my choice. Look into their new everything AVB, and even the little ones, they have the same quality than the big ones. So that would be definitely my advice. We have another donation, Shannon Cottonman. Thank you so much, by the way. Your question, at what point in your career did you consider yourself to be a professional mix engineer? What is the one biggest difference in your opinion between an average engineer and a professional? There's so many. I think it doesn't. So once the first part, when you consider yourself a mix engineer, this depends. It's kind of semantic. The moment that someone pays to do mixing for them, then you're a professional. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you won any award. It doesn't matter. At that point, is your profession, right? You're a professional. It becomes your profession where at least most of your income comes from that. From you for your mixing and mastering jobs. That doesn't mean that you're good at mixing, though. And I'm gonna try to be politically correct here, but sometimes there's people that is paid out there and paid a lot of money and doesn't really, is not really that great at mixing. It happens, so definitely it's kind of a fine line. I guess if you want to be realistic about it, is when your clients are happy returning and the words goes out that you are a good mixing engineer, and you get new clients and they come because they heard your products and they like them. I think that's when. What the biggest difference between an average and a professional, I don't know. I think is that intangible feel that you have when you listen to a mix, right? Some people, let's say, some people say when you don't hear anything that bothers you in the mix, but for me, that's way low. That's going from incompetent to passable. From there to become a professional, there's a lot more, and then to become great, there's a lot more. And I think the biggest difference is when you are able to improve the song with your mixes, so that you have a reaction, you get a reaction from people listening to your mix, to that song. You make them feel something. And it is possible doing it with mix. Actually, many cases, it happened that, not so great mixes were made literally by great mixes. Okay. All right, more questions. Hi, David. You love your channel. How do you deal with ear fatigue? What I mean, do you take breaks while mixing after a specific time, or it depends on the material you're dealing with? It definitely depends on the material I'm mixing, because for example, when I always give this example when I mix Sean Leuven-C Street Sects stuff, which is really heavy hitting industrial and noise. Of course, I'm gonna take more breaks than when I mix, Bella song or like hip hop or even metal, because his stuff is crazy hard. And usually I just go by feeling. Some days, some days I can go on for like 3 hours without taking a break, and some days like I feel like getting out and getting some air in the balcony after 40 minutes. just go by the day. It will sound stupid, but LA is also kind of a very noisy city. So it also depends, if I've been out and my ears are already fatigued because it's like outside is loud everywhere. If I've been driving, with my car like for 2 hours or something because the car is super loud. So it all depends. But generally speaking, let's say I try to take a break every hour or every couple of hours. Okay. Again, you want a question answer first, use the super chat, which we have. When are we getting the Focal Twin Evo review? I need to spend some time with them. Otherwise, what am I reviewing? I want to believe that I'm different from other channels that, oh, I got this one, let's review it. I'm going to spend maybe a week or 10, 12 days with them, mixing, mastering, and that's why I put my Genelex on the side for now, so I can experience them a little bit, and then I'll be ready to give you, my opinion on them. They're pretty cool, going from the first 5 minutes. Drea the man, thank you so much for the donation. Your question: what are your thoughts on the Apollo X16 and Metric Halo ULN8? Unfortunately, I don't have that much experience with the Metric Halo. I know this though. I've never heard a Metric Halo product sounds bad or being disappointing. Let's put it this way. Of course, Apollo is a good interface, and you have the possibility to have the plugins and all that if you are into that idea of having the plugins tied to the interface, which I don't like. But also, Universal Audio seems to change models pretty often, and generally speaking, I'm not a fan of that marketing strategy. Let's put it this way. A lot of people are using the Apollo. I much prefer Motu. I compare them, and I just think they're better. And unfortunately, I cannot say much about the Metric Halo in this case because I don't have experience with it. But I can tell you that I ran into Metric Halo products, both software and hardware like interfaces in the past, and they were always pretty damn good. So I hope that answered the question. All right. Let's try to catch up with some previous questions. Success in the industry. Disco Dave. Success in the industry. How much is related to your skill and how much is marketing yourself? A lot. I wouldn't say it's marketing yourself, because yes, marketing yourself as in literally paying promotion like a lot of people do today, and a lot of YouTube channels do pay to promote their channels, which I'm stupid, I've never done it, so I probably should, but it's more than 50%. The success in the industry, 40% is your skills, according to what we see nowadays. And 60% is not that much marketing, but is networking, is who you know and who knows you. And I'll leave it at that. That Orco, thank you so much for the donation. When is the next single music video dropping? Okay, so we changed the plans, and what was supposed to be the third single is not gonna be the third single. The third single is gonna be a brand new song, because things have changed, because COVID apparently disappeared. And so everything is reopened, charts are reopened, clubs are reopened. So we are going towards the summer. So we want, instead of coming out with another slow song, which was originally the third single, we're going with a possible Billboard hit. Let's put it this way. And we should film the video in about 2 months from now. And that would make it about 4 months from now, the release. 3 months and a half, 4 months from now, the release. But yeah, we are working differently from the other two singles Once we release the third single with the video, we also have another 6 songs, which are not going to be the super, expensive videos and everything else. We are going to release one every month, so we basically have the entire album. And most important, we have a live show for her. So if everything goes to plan, let's say 3 to 4 months from now. And thank you again for the donation. Okay. All right, guys, 15 minutes left. If you want your questions up, use the super chat. 15 minutes. Today I can't stay longer. Is there a producer Illuminati and you are a part of it? There is certainly a circle of producers and mix engineers and stuff. And no, I'm not a part of it. No, I'm not. But there is definitely a circle, and it's a tight circle. Follow the money. Nice. Okay. Motu better than SSL? Yes, for me, definitely yes. What do you think about recording musicians together and working hard on phrases and keeping all the various bleeds? Is that a dead way to record music? It used to be very dead. I see a lot of people doing that now. It kind of came back, and I'm a big fan of it. It's not easy. That's that's one situation in which the bedroom producers will shoot themselves in the head, if they never did it. That's one when instead people like me, like a lot of other people that started learning recording real instruments, that's the only way you can actually do it, because that requires real recording and mic placement skills and even all the outboard that goes into recording something like that, because you will need it at that point. And yeah, definitely the bleeds are part of it. You don't try to remove them. You need to learn how to record things properly so you can use the bleeds to your advantage and to actually make things sounds better at some point. Cesar Gonzalez Bueno, thank you again from the donation. Much appreciated. I'm happy to learn. Very, very much appreciated, guys. Drea the Man, again, thank you so much. What made you choose the Empirical Labs Fatso and Distressor over Kush Audio? What's the big difference? Okay, so those two machines, the Distressor and the Fatsos, are a classic. It's just like the LA2A and the 1176s. Yes, they are amazing designs, and that's why people copied them, and they've been using those machines for decades. But also because if you want that sound, you need that unit, right? You can get something that is similar. Something that is similar, and maybe it's better, maybe not. But what you lose with something similar, and that goes for plugins versus hardware as well, what you lose is the familiarity. People have been listening to those machines, even if unconsciously, for decades. All our favorite songs and all the artists, they use them. So if you want that sound, you need that unit. And as for Kush Audio, I heard the Fatso, the brown version of the Fatso, and it's simply a different attack and release settings for the compressor settings, and sometimes can work, sometimes doesn't. But I know one thing: that David there, the guy who invented the Fatso, he's a genius, and his units are ubiquitous. Every studio has them. There's a reason because of that. While the other is kind of a different flavor, but why reinvent the wheel? Why fix something that is broken? So as for the tweaker, for me is not even, is a completely different thing than the Distressor. I know it wants to be a kind of a workhorse compressor, and it is to some extent, but the Distressor is the Distressor. If you want that sound that made the #1 million times, that's what you get. That's why I have two, and none of them are the Kush, because that's the sound that I want. That's the sound that made the Fatso popular. The Fatso that Kush modded, he modded it because is an amazing unit. And then he, in his opinion, made it better and whatever. But you know, the studios around the world are full of Fatsos and distressors, the original ones. Road, thank you so much for the donation, much appreciated. Hey David, I wanted to say thank you for all your recommendations over the years. Proud owner of 2 flock patch units, West Audio, Mimas, Ria, Hyperion, and Prometheus. Well, thank you for the donation and you know, for your generosity. I'm very happy that you're enjoying the gear. I always try to promote and feature things that, of course, you guys can see it, that I use every day, because that's my job. I can't keep on my desk things that are like, oh, they gave me $2,000 to promote this unit, and then I leave it there and I don't do nothing with it, or I don't like it, because this is my job. So the things that I feature on the channel are generally the stuff that I believe are, you know, at least for me, the best that are out there. And even if they're not the best out there for me, I know that some units will benefit guys in a situation like a home studio, you know. Because not everybody has, you know, the luxury of having like a studio like mine. So I think that way, you know, and I hope it works. And to hear your feedback is amazing. For someone who wants to be versatile and mix for other people, what genre do you think teach you the most, or at least help you develop useful skills? I want to say anything that is rock, high count, recording and dealing with real instruments will teach you a lot, because non-real instruments are gonna be much easier. So definitely those genres. And then of course you need to be a little specific. You know, for example, if you want to do the new modern emo trap and dream, whatever the name is, dream pop, you need to be very, very familiar with the effects that those genres use. But the core teaching, they apply to everything. That's why I always say, like, yeah, my mixing and mastering courses have a name because I use a specific genre for that song, for that course. But the core concepts are applicable to any genre. Is the effects and the aesthetic that you have to be familiar with. Once you have the tool to shift from genres, is not as hard as learning the core concept of mixing, you know? And that it comes a lot by listening to those genres that you want to, you know, mix or get into. All right, last 10 minutes, guys, last 10 minutes. What's the difference between EL Distressor EL8 and EL8X is the link position. You can, there's a switcher, you can link two units, and of course the I have a brain fart. The British mode, sorry, which is, you know, the all button mode on the 1176. Those are the difference. All right. Do you offer attended sessions for mixing and mastering? No. The official answer is no. I do it with like bigger artists, but other than that, not for now. We are planning possibly to do a masterclass in LA for like everybody that wants to come and see that. But for now, no, I don't do attended sessions other than, you know, few selected artists. Okay. Is the FMR RNC compressor good for tracking vocals? Yeah, it's an amazing vocal tracking compressor. It's super clean, super transparent. It's very cheap. It's an awesome tracking compressor. It won't give you color, but it will give you like a safe performance. It's really hard to fuck up with an NRC. Okay. All right, guys, last 5 minutes. Come on. If you want your question first, last chance to use the super chat, and then I will have to go. Should I keep a good vocal take in which I can hear the room, or a slightly worse one with better recording quality? The good performance, always. When mastering above -14 LUFS integrated for platform like Spotify, is still crucial to maintain a true peak of -1 or -2 dB. Do not master a -14 LUFS unless you want your song to sound the lowest of the bunch. Don't. I have 3 videos on this shit. And I really call this shit because it's shit. And in all videos, you can see some of you guys, some subscribers saying, yeah, oh my god, you saved my life because I follow the -14 LUFS and now all my songs sound lower than anything else. So no, you don't you don't master at -14, and the true peak is also crap. Again, I have a video on it. Just please search for Mixbuzz TV intersample peak, and you will, in that video, you will see I prove to everybody that not only I don't care, but nobody cares, because there's a site by a website, oh my god, interactive web page that TC Electronic made, and where you can find all the top 10 charting songs on all the genres and all the readings. They are all out of, the true peak. Nobody gives a fuck. And I also explain why, it's rightfully so, because it's kind of bullshit. But just don't bother with the regulation. I literally have a lot of videos about that as to why it's complete bullcrap. Would you go Dolby Atmos if it becomes more popular? I will have to. Yeah, I'm already looking into it. I'm not a fan though, but I will have to. Loudness penalty. Yeah, to do what with loudness penalty? Nothing, absolutely nothing. What part of Italy are you from? I was born in Tuscany. And how many times do you work out? I train 6 days a week for about 2 hours a day. It's good to use multiple sausage fattener on one channel. Is this a real question? I wouldn't use it even one, but it's just me. All right, last 3 minutes. Do you uninstall a lot of useless plugins? I try to keep my plugins at the minimum possible. All right. TLM 103 Sony C100 and the VSM digital in my cart. Which one should I go with? I don't know the Sony C100. I'm wondering if that's the kind of similar to the tube one. I would say the TLM 103, which is not an amazing mic, but it's better than the other two. I don't even know how much is the TLM 103. You should probably go with the OC818 if the price is kind of the same. Yeah, it's a little pricier, but I would go with I know everybody gives like a fourth option, but if you had to pick between those, I go with the TLM, even because it has a better resale value. But if you have to spend that amount of money, I would just bump it a little more and go with the Austrian Audio OC818. Last question. Wow. All right, Chad K, you just arrived at the last moment. Thank you so much for the donation. And this is going to be the last question. I'm using a limiter at the end of my chain to get as much volume as possible, then running it through E-Mastered for final sheen. Not optimal, but it's my only option right now. Rock Metal, what are your thoughts? What is E-Mastered? Is it a like an automatic mastering service. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, Chad K. I think you shouldn't do that, to be honest. Those services are usually nothing else than a preset, right? So it would be like literally you put Ozone on your master and you just pick a preset. And I think you're better off if you're still learning. This is what I would do. I would do a couple of times this E-mastered, and if you actually like it better, try to understand what you like better, because this is what I think happens. And I never tried the E-master, but this is what I think happens. What happens is these services play, not in a good way, with how the human brain perceives audio, right? So we know one thing, that everything that is even slightly brighter, we immediately perceive it as better. That unfortunately is like an instant reaction that our brain has. But that tomorrow could be too much, too bright or too harsh. The brightness becomes harshness. But you can't tell right away unless you have experience. So I bet that those mastering services, the only thing they do is they give you a little bit of saturation or top lift and a little bit of bottom and scoop the mid and just give you the smiley curve, and that's it. And maybe a little bit of width, which applied by default without understanding if that's what the tracks need, it's literally just like, I don't want to say scamming people, but it's just playing with how inexperienced people perceive and our brain perceive music, right? So if you think that service gives you a better master than what you did, try to understand what it is. I bet $10 that the first thing you're going to notice is it's brighter. Then you go back to your master, since you don't have deadline, you're not mixing and mastering for someone else, and you pick an EQ that you like. A mag EQ is, usually a Pultec EQ, and you try to apply that top end in the quantity and the amount that you feel like it's right, not an automated system. So use if that master that you get from eMastered is better than your version, and it's not just fooling your brain. Try to learn what they did and then apply it to yours. And if you don't, you're still not safe, probably with how much you spend with eMaster, you can book a private session with me, and I'll teach you how to listen to those things, and that I'll instead of giving you fish, I'll give you, so I'll learn you how to fish. But I would simply not, gravitate towards those services, because it's nothing different than a preset. All right. Again, all right. Chad K was our last question. Thank you for the donation. Thank you everybody who donated for this live stream. Every time I come here, and the donation definitely helps, so I can do this more often. And this is it for today. Thank you for everybody for joining, and stay safe and keep an eye on the channel. There's a lot of cool videos coming up. Stay safe.